Imagine a house that burns its own walls just to keep the furnace running. It sounds insane, but right now, at this very second, your body might be committing an act of biological cannibalism. You think you are fasting or dieting to burn the stubborn fat around your waist, but biologically, you are stripping the copper wiring out of your own walls. You are eating your own muscle. This is the silent epidemic of the modern health enthusiast. It is the catabolic trap. You have likely felt the symptoms. You cut calories, you grind out cardio sessions, you eat what the government guidelines tell you is healthy. You expect to look lean, powerful, and toned. But when you look in the mirror, the reflection is soft, deflated. You haven't lost the fat. You've lost the engine that burns the fat. It feels like you are driving with the parking brake on. You wake up with a brain fog that a double espresso can't clear. Your joints ache with a dull, throbbing inflammation that shouldn't be there. And worst of all, despite your discipline, the scale barely moves. Or if it does, you just look like a smaller, softer version of your former self. This isn't a lack of willpower. It is a signaling error in your HumanOS. Because you missed one specific nutrient window, your body panicked. It sensed a famine. And because it didn't get this specific molecular key, it shifted into a catabolic state, deciding that your biceps, your quads, and your heart tissue were an emergency fuel source. But we can flip that switch back. By the end of this video, I am going to hand you the manual to your own metabolism. We aren't just going to identify this missing nutrient. We are going to break down the exact timing and dosage required to trigger muscle protein synthesis. I will show you how to stop your body from eating itself and start using fat for fuel, exactly as nature intended. We are going to rewrite your operating system. For decades, we have been suffocated by a single dangerous mantra: eat less, move more. It sounds logical, right? It's basic thermodynamics, calories in versus calories out. If the number on the scale goes down, you are winning. But here is the dirty secret the weight loss industry hides in the fine print. Weight loss is not the same thing as fat loss. When you blindly restrict calories without sending the right safety signal to your biology, you trigger a primal starvation code. Your body is smart. It knows that fat is an incredible survival fuel. It keeps you warm and alive during a famine. Muscle, on the other hand, muscle is metabolic, expensive furniture. It costs a lot of energy to maintain. So when you cut your food intake and start jogging for an hour a day, your body looks at the balance sheet. It sees a deficit. It panics, and it makes a ruthless economic decision. We can't afford to keep this muscle, burn it for heat, hoard the fat for insurance. This is why dieting often leaves you looking skinny fat. You strip away the lean tissue that gives your body its shape and metabolic horsepower, leaving behind the stubborn, visceral fat that wraps around your organs. You have been told to fear anabolism, to fear growth. You've been told that protein hurts your kidneys, a myth we debunked years ago, or that you should fill up on whole grains for energy. This advice is the enemy. It is the reason you hit a plateau 3 weeks into every diet. It is the reason you feel weak, irritable, and constantly hungry. It is not your fault. You were handed a broken compass. You followed the rules. You ate the salads. You skipped the steak. You ran the miles. But the standard food pyramid was built on agricultural economics, not human physiology. It prioritized cheap energy over structural integrity. It taught you to fuel the car, but forget about maintaining the engine. When you lose muscle, you lower your basal metabolic rate. That means the moment you stop dieting, and you will stop, you regain the weight faster than before. But now it's all fat, because your muscle engine is smaller. This is the yo-yo diet trap. It's a downward spiral that destroys your metabolism a little more every time you try to get healthy. But there is a way to hack this system. There is a specific biological switch that, when flipped, tells your body, we are safe, keep the muscle, burn the fat. Most people never flip this switch because they're missing the one component that activates it. It's not just about eating protein. It's about a specific threshold, a biological unlock code that you probably aren't hitting. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you exactly what that switch is. We're going to look at the system of the HumanOS, and I'll introduce you to the traffic cop that decides whether you build muscle or eat it. We established that the old way, starving yourself to health, is actually destroying your metabolic engine. So, how do we fix it? How do we tell the HumanOS to stop burning the furniture and start burning the firewood? Before we get to the molecule that saves you, I need to know where you stand right now. Pause the video for just 1 second. Scroll down and tell me in the comments, when you have tried to lose weight in the past, did you feel energized? Or did you feel weak and tired? Did your strength go up? Or did it crash? Type crash if you felt that energy drop. I want to see how many of us have been victims of this bad advice. Okay, let's look under the hood. To stop eating your own muscle, you have to understand the master switch of human metabolism. It is a protein kinase called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin. I want you to think of your body as a massive construction site. You have bricks, steel, and cement lying everywhere. These raw materials are the proteins you eat, the chicken, the eggs, the tofu. They are the building blocks. But here's the catch. You can dump 1 million bricks onto a construction site, but if the workers are sleeping in the truck, nothing gets built. In fact, if the site is inactive for too long, scavengers come in and steal the materials. That is catabolism. mTOR is the foreman. mTOR is the guy with the whistle. When mTOR is on, he blows the whistle, wakes up the workers, and the construction begins. This is called muscle protein synthesis. When MPS is active, your body protects your muscle tissue at all costs. It repairs the damage. It maintains your metabolic engine. And because your energy demands go up to support this construction, your body turns to its fat stores to pay the electricity bill. But, and this is the critical failure point for 99% of people, mTOR is lazy. It doesn't wake up for just anything. You can eat an apple, mTOR stays asleep. You can eat a handful of almonds, mTOR doesn't care. You can even eat a small piece of chicken. mTOR might open one eye, look around, and go back to sleep. To wake up the foreman, you need a very specific, loud signal. You need a threshold event. This brings us to the missing nutrient. The nutrient isn't just protein. It is a specific amino acid hidden inside protein that acts as the key to the ignition. That nutrient is leucine. Leucine is one of the essential amino acids, but it is unique. It's not just a building block. It is a signaling molecule. It is the only nutrient that can directly flip the mTOR switch from off to on. Here is the aha moment, the leucine threshold. Most people graze on protein throughout the day. They have a little yogurt at breakfast, 1 gram of leucine, a salad with some beans at lunch, 1.5 grams of leucine, a sensible dinner, 1.5 grams of leucine. They think they're eating healthy, But biochemically, they never hit the switch. They hovered under the threshold all day long. Because they never spiked leucine high enough to trigger mTOR, your body remained in a catabolic state, slowly stripping away muscle to get the amino acids it needed, despite the fact that they were eating food. You don't need more calories. You need to hit the trigger. You need to consolidate your nutrition to punch through that ceiling and turn the machine on. If you miss this threshold, you are biologically invisible to your own muscle tissue. Now that you know the Foreman and the key, nutrient, we need to look at the wiring. Because simply chugging a leucine shake isn't the whole story. In the next chapter, we're going to break down the biochemical pathways, the specific rules of the road that determine if that leucine actually gets to the switch or if it gets hijacked by something else. We have identified the Foreman, mTOR, and we have identified the key, leucine. But biology is not a simple on-off switch. It is a complex negotiation. You cannot simply flood your system with protein powder and expect to look like a Greek god. There are specific biological laws, pathways, that dictate whether that leucine actually triggers muscle growth or just gets burned off as expensive sugar. If you violate these pathways, you are pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Before we break down these pathways, I need you to do something for your future self. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell. Why? Because leucine is just one piece of the puzzle. In the next few weeks, we are going to release guides on cortisol, insulin resistance, and the specific sleep protocols to scrub toxins from your brain. You cannot afford to miss those manuals. Subscribe now so you get the notification. Now, let's dissect the 3 critical pathways of the anabolic mechanism. Pathway 1, the all-or-nothing threshold. Here is the most critical concept you will learn today. Muscle protein synthesis is binary. Think of a light switch. You can press it gently, you can press it halfway, but until you apply enough pressure to click it over, the light stays off. It doesn't flicker, it stays dark. Your body works the same way. You need a specific concentration of leucine in your blood to click the mTOR switch. For most healthy adults, that threshold is approximately 2.5 to 3.0 grams of leucine in a single sitting. If you eat a meal that contains only 1.5 grams of leucine, say a bowl of oatmeal and a little almond butter, you did not turn the light on a little bit. You didn't turn it on at all. Your body essentially ignores the anabolic signal. The amino acids circulate, but because the threshold wasn't breached, no construction crew is dispatched. The muscle remains dormant. This explains why the old advice of grazing or eating 6 small meals a day is metabolic suicide for muscle retention. By spreading your protein out into tiny doses, you are constantly hovering below the threshold. You are effectively fasting, even though you're eating all day. Pathway 2, the muscle full effect, the refractory period. Let's assume you hit the threshold. You ate a steak. You got 3 grams of leucine. mTOR wakes up. Protein synthesis spikes. Great. But here's the catch. You cannot keep that switch on forever. After about 2 to 3 hours, even if amino acid levels in your blood are still high, MPS shuts down. The construction workers go home. This is known as the muscle full effect. The system becomes temporarily insensitive to leucine. Imagine flushing a toilet. Once you flush it, you cannot flush it again immediately. The tank has to refill. The system has to reset. Warning: if you eat another protein meal 2 hours later, nothing happens. The sensor is jammed. You need to let your amino acid levels drop back to baseline to resensitize the mTOR mechanism. This is why intermittent fasting or spaced-out meals 4 to 5 hours apart are so effective. The drop in insulin and amino acids allows the sensor to reset, so the next time you eat, the signal is loud and clear again. Constant snacking dulls the sensor. Pathway 3. Anabolic resistance, the aging curve. This is the pathway that matters most if you are over 35. Slowly, our tissues become stubborn. We develop anabolic resistance. It's like having a Foreman who's hard of hearing. When you were 20, a small shout, 1.5 grams of leucine, might have been enough to wake him up. But at 40, 50, or 60, you need to scream. Research shows that older adults require more leucine per meal to get the exact same anabolic response as a teenager. That 2.5 gram threshold might creep up to 3.5 grams or even 4 grams. This is the cruel irony of aging. Softly, as we naturally start eating less, urgently rising, our biological requirement for protein per meal actually goes up. If you don't adjust for this resistance, you enter a rapid decline of sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss. You aren't just getting old, deep accusatory. You are technically starving your muscle tissue because your signal isn't loud enough to cross the widening gap. Before we continue, I need you to do something for your future self. Subscribe to my guide to YouTube and find bestsellers on Amazon. Subscribe now so you get the notification. So, how do we translate this biochemistry into breakfast, lunch, and dinner? How do you guarantee you hit 3 grams of leucine without carrying a calculator everywhere? In the next chapter, we convert this science into a strict and actionable protocol. We are done with the theory. It is time to install the update. You know that you need to hit the leucine threshold, approximately 3 grams, to wake up mTOR. You know you need to space your meals to reset the sensor. Now, I'm going to give you the 3-spike protocol. This is the standard operating procedure for the HumanOS to maximize retention and fat burning. Deep. Title. Step 1. Source selection. Subheader. Tech. The density problem. Instructional. Clear. First, you need to know where leucine lives. Firm. Negative. Not all proteins are created equal. Controversial. Serious. This is where the plant versus animal debate, punchy, final, gets settled by biochemistry, not ideology. Factual. Strong. Animal proteins are leucine-dense. Factual. Light. Plant proteins are leucine-sparse. Direct. List. To get your 3 grams of leucine, you need to eat beef or chicken, approximately 5 to 6 ounces. Aside, that's about 30 to 35 grams of total protein. Normal. Visual. Eggs, 5 to 6 large eggs. Normal. Visual. Whey protein, 1 scoop. Excited. Praise. Whey is the leucine king. Fast. Smooth. It is almost pure bioavailability. Skeptical. Transition. Now, compare that to plant sources. Slow. Emphasis. To get that same 3 grams of leucine from quinoa, shocked. Slow. You would need to eat nearly 5 cups of cooked quinoa. Loud. Disbelief. That is over 1,000 calories just to hit the activation switch. Tech. Analytical. This is the calorie-to-leucine ratio. Serious. Logical. If you are trying to lose weight, aside, catabolic fat loss, while keeping muscle, aside, anabolic retention. Strict. Warning. You cannot afford the caloric baggage of low-quality protein sources. Urgent. You need high efficiency. Helpful. Specific. If you are plant-based, command. You must supplement with a free-form essential amino acid powder or a high-quality pea rice blend. Clear, goal, to hit the threshold without blowing your calorie cap. Deep, title. Step 2, the morning spike. Subheader, action, breaking the catabolic chain. Slow, important. This is the most important meal of the day. Intriguing, but not for the reason you think. Normal, explanatory. You have been fasting for 8 to 10 hours while you slept. Low, medical. Your body is currently in a mild catabolic state. Scary, deep. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is naturally high. Dark, threat. Cortisol eats muscle. Action, urgent. You need to flip the switch immediately. Official, protocol. Clear, instruction. Within 90 minutes of waking, consume 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein. Light, evaluation. Good, 3 eggs. Correcting, fast. Insufficient leucine on their own. Strong, evaluation. HumanOS standard, 3 eggs plus 1 cup of egg whites. Satisfied, hits the 3-gram leucine target. Alternative, easy. Alternative, a whey protein isolate shake mixed with water or almond milk. Confident, result. This stops the muscle breakdown instantly. Grand, and sets the metabolic tone for the day. Strict, scolding. Do not start your day with just toast or oatmeal. That is a sugar spike, not a leucine spike. Deep, title. Step 3, the resensitization gap. Recall, questioning. Remember the refractory period? Storytelling. Once you trigger MPS at 8 a.m., the switch turns off by 10 a.m. Command, hard. Do not snack. Softer, explanatory. Let your insulin baseline drop. Tech. Let the mTOR sensor reset. Instructional, specific. Wait 4 to 5 hours before your next meal. Example, if you eat at 8 a.m., your next spike is at 1 p.m. Scientific, benefit. This fasting window between meals, energetic, forces your body to oxidize fat for fuel. Explaining, because insulin is low. Reassuring, warm, but your muscle is safe. Smart, because you front-noted the protection. Deep, title. Step 4, the pre-sleep insurance. Serious, warning. This is where most people fail. Descriptive, common. They eat a light dinner at 6 p.m., slow, dragging, and then don't eat again until 8 a.m. the next day. Shocked. That is a 14-hour gap. Soft, visual. While you sleep, your body does its deepest repair work. Logical. It needs materials. Dark, threatening. If there are no amino acids in the blood, it will break down your own tissue to repair your brain and organs. Official, protocol. Instructional. Consume a slow-digesting protein roughly 1 to 2 hours before bed. Strong, recommendation. The gold standard, casein protein. Visual, found in cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. Scientific, visual. Casein gels in the stomach, slow, flowing, and trickle feeds amino acids for 6 to 7 hours. Metaphor, medical. It is an anti-catabolic IV drip while you dream. Deep, summary of the protocol. Fast, rhythmic, marching. 7 a.m., 35 grams protein, the ignition. Rhythmic, 12 p.m., 35 grams protein, the sustain. Rhythmic, 6 p.m., 35 grams protein, the reload. Slower, optional, but recommended. Soft, night, 9 p.m., 20 grams casein, the shield. Strong, punchy, 3 spikes. Strong, high magnitude. Strong, perfect spacing. Empowering, final. This is how you manipulate your biology to serve you. Deep, resolute, rather than fighting against it. Let's recap. The operating manual. You are not losing weight because you lack willpower. You are struggling because you are sending the wrong biological signals. The eat less, move more model is a trap. It sacrifices your muscle to save your fat. To fix the HumanOS, you must follow the 3-spike protocol. Stop grazing. Constant snacking keeps you in a metabolic gray zone. Hit the threshold. You need 3 grams of leucine, approximately 30 to 35 grams of high-quality protein, to flip the mTOR switch. If you don't hit the number, the switch stays off. Timing is everything. Spike your protein in the morning to stop the cortisol bleed. Wait 4 to 5 hours to let the sensor reset. Reload at dinner. It is simple, but it is strict. Biology does not negotiate. Now, there is one major vulnerability we haven't covered. You can eat the perfect amount of leucine. You can time your meals to the second. But none of it matters if your internal plumbing is clogged. If your gut lining is inflamed, you aren't absorbing those nutrients. You are just making expensive waste. That is why you need to watch this video next. Your digestion is failing if you notice these 7 signals. We break down exactly how to repair the gut lining so you actually absorb the fuel you are eating. If you want to build the house, you need to make sure the front door is open. Click that video right here, and let's fix your uptake. I'll see you there.